All right, and showtime, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining us on the latest episode of the ChannelPro 5-Minute Roundup, a look at news, trends, and tips for the SMB channel in 5 minutes or thereabouts. I am your co-host, Rich Freeman, executive editor of the ChannelPro Network. With me, as always, is our other co-host on this program, Erick Simpson, who is CIO and Senior Vice President at SPC International, a training and business improvement organization for MSPs and other IT service providers. Erick, sounds like the microphone is working. How are you doing today?
Doing pretty good, Rich. Doing pretty good. And it's this is a milestone in our podcast history here, where we are actually delivering this podcast virtually while you are on vacation.
This is true. As people are watching this, I am overseas. I am in Europe right now on vacation this week. I will be coming back. I get back home on June 4th. Yeah, so we are pre-recording here to make sure that our fans, our many fans, don't have to go an entire week without our presence in their life.
Yes, and the latest up-to-date news as we can forecast it a week in advance this time.
And we can be pretty sure that what we're going to talk about here right now is it's going to be news next week. So as we record this, it is May 24th, which is to say that tomorrow, May 25th, is when GDPR, the giant European Union data privacy regulation, officially goes into effect. And so as you're viewing this, it's been a few days since it's been in effect. I'm guessing a lot of the folks who are watching this right now have already felt some of that a little bit in terms of having an inbox full of notices from companies that they do business with, letting them know about their compliance status. In fact, we at ChannelPro sent an email out to people earlier today asking for their permission to continue emailing them in newsletters and other information. There's a lot of that going on right now. But also, I think a whole lot of people really still kind of struggling to understand what this law is going to mean. And when I say people struggling, I'm talking mostly here in the US and outside of Europe. I think awareness levels are relatively high in Europe, and preparedness, while probably not as good as EU officials might hope, is probably relatively good too. But neither awareness nor readiness is all that strong here in the US, and it's even a little bit difficult just to know for certain how much the average MSP or VAR is going to be impacted by this, even if they obviously don't have any customers in Europe. But have customers who might have customers or do business with people in Europe, or work with vendors that are located in Europe or touch Europe in one way or another. So I think we are at the very early stage right now of something that is going to be an ongoing and probably pretty significant issue in a lot of people's lives. And as people are watching this, I'm in Europe researching it firsthand so that I can write the complete value of my vacation off of my taxes.
I will eagerly await that update, Rich. And, I think it's what's happening in the European Union and all the countries associated under this new regulation, the GDPR, is simply a foreshadowing or a harbinger of a ripple effect that's going to, we'll see more and more of this across, I think, internationally. And so while we may not all be completely ready today in the US to deal with it, slowly we'll begin to achieve compliance and things like that. But I think ultimately that'll serve us well, because I expect this to, like I say, spread beyond the European Union over time.
Yeah, and it's interesting. You remind me of a point that one of the speakers at our live events this year has been making. He's named Rory Sanchez. He's the CEO of a company called True Digital Security in Florida. And as the name implies, a security expert. And he's been kind of pointing out how, regulations can be a serious pain in the neck, but they can also drive people to do things that they really should have been doing all along. And this might very well be an instance of that. And maybe it won't be as true in the US initially as it is in Europe. Maybe this will come our way later. But knowing that there are legal implications to, failing to obey some of these data privacy requirements in the way that there can be for people who are subject to the HIPAA regulation, for example, that is the motivation sometimes that a company needs to actually go about investing money in some of the security and privacy related steps that they really should have taken a long time ago.
Well, and as we know, with regulation comes opportunity to help companies comply. So, for our viewers out there, keep your ear to the ground. If you do business, in the EU or have facilities in the EU and serve customers in the EU, this may be your opportunity to help them gain compliance. If they're doing, if they're maintaining data of customers and things like that. So, I encourage you to review the GDPR regulations and look for opportunity, because that's the easiest way for us to win business, is when we can help organizations maintain their compliance.
Well, one of the ways that people watching right now can find out more about GDPR is going to be by contacting their vendor. But your tip for the week actually has to do with having more of a reciprocal, a two-way relationship with the vendors you do business with.
Yeah, you're right, Rich. And this is a tip. When I say build a reciprocal vendor relationship, I think a lot of our listeners, will associate that with, well, I ask, my Microsoft, my Cisco, my Citrix, my Tech Data, my Ingram Micro for leads all the time. But what can I give them? That's not what I'm talking about here. If you want to really build a strong relationship with your top tier vendors, disties, manufacturers, you've got to really become that go-to partner. That means that you're engaging with them, you're asking for ways to improve your relationship with them, you're going through their training, getting their certifications, becoming visible, asking for MDF, delivering events that drive opportunities for their products, services, and solutions. What I'm talking about is more on a smaller scale here. And I mean working with local vendors that serve your target audience. So when we were an MSP, one of our crowning achievements really was, well, let me back up. The epiphany that we had first that led to the crowning achievement in the vendor strategy was we were really good at referring our clients to the copier vendor, the printer vendor, you name it, the telecom vendor, all the things that we didn't do ourselves, we would bring these folks in, but it was just kind of, kicking over these leads over the fence. But we were so good, we would just pre-sell the solution for them. They'd basically come in, have a meeting with us, and close the deal. And of course, our expectation was, wow, well, we're giving you guys all these leads. We expect that in return. Well, guess what, Rich? Not so much, right? Not so much. We were, definitely lopsided in that solution. So what we decided to do was to identify vendors that maintain the same level of expertise and care for their services to our clients that we did. And we built a reciprocal referral relationship on paper, NDAs, non-competes. We had a commission schedule that we would work out with each one of them. And now it made it more intentional between us to go find opportunities between each other. So now we were engaging with all these vendors and we were getting those leads and we were asking for leads. We were chasing that down. And, for folks that are looking for the really good vendors to create relationships with, I would say moving companies, we had two. And those were some of our best referral relationships because they knew when clients were moving, when tenants were moving in or out of buildings, and they would just share that with us and we would engage with them. And hey, guess what? Now we're doing moves and infrastructure upgrades and things like that. So tip of the week, be intentional about building solid vendor relationships, get it documented on paper, and pick the right vendors that you're not simply just tossing referrals over the fence to, but you're proud to have them sit with you as a partner, delivering services to your clients with you. And they feel the same way about introducing you to their clients.
Now, did you have specific goals or success metrics that you tracked to kind of determine whether or not this particular vendor relationship you established is, meeting expectations and stand? Did both parties to the agreement kind of go in knowing that we're going to drive this amount of business roughly to one another, or else we'll just kind of move on?
That strategy grew and improved over time to your question. So. And we also found out, who of the vendors that we were working with were not carrying their weight. And, because we're dealing with so many clients and dealing with their vendors, we had our pick of the litter. to pick the next one that we felt was doing a good job. And if a vendor was doing a poor job for a new prospect or an existing client, we were very quick to replace them with our vendor. Now, here's the caveat: we never supplanted an existing vendor simply because we were earning a commission from our vendor. It had to be in the best interest of the client. That was tantamount. And our clients always knew that we had a referral relationship with any vendor that we brought in. So we didn't hide that fact at all. But because we had built that trust and confidence and loyalty with our clients, when we failed to do that, they would say to us, well, heck, if we knew you had a vendor, we'd much rather, engage with your vendor and make sure you got compensated for that than us just picking somebody off the street. So it works, it worked well from meeting the requirements of all parties involved. As long as the client's needs were met first, that was the first, checkbox.
So think local, folks, and you can think beyond technology as well. In ChannelPro, I know we talk a lot about establishing partnerships, maybe with print providers or telco providers, if that's not something that you do. But moving companies. I mean, anyone who's touching SMBs is potentially a business partner vendor of yours.
And I'll add to my answer to your question earlier about, did we have goals and things like that? Well, we got more intentional about setting, growth goals. But I will say this, as an MSP, about 60% of our monthly recurring revenue was derived from services that we provided directly. That's us delivering these services. And the balance of our MRR, the other 40%, came from other vendors and that was the other, checkbox for us is, do they provide a service that we can earn MRR through? So the other 40% of our MRR came from us introducing these vendor relationships to our clients. So think about it this way. You don't have to know how to do everything. You just have to partner with the right folks to make sure that you can maintain that client retention and grow that lifetime client value over time, by putting together a team of professionals that really knock it out of the park for your clients.
Well, great stuff. And we've just got time for one more story, which happens to be great news, or at least for me and you as well, I think, because we both spend a lot of our time flying around the country, jet lag, sleep cycle disruption. We work in fields where maybe we don't have quite as much time to sleep as we would like to have. And I know I often refer to my job basically as an extended unsupervised experiment in long-term sleep deprivation and excessive caffeine intake. And I wonder, what are the potential health impacts of this? Well, there was a study published last week, as people are viewing this, that suggested there actually could be some pretty serious health impacts if you're getting less than 5 hours of sleep a night on a regular basis. And I'm looking at this thinking, well, this is a little disturbing because, I do sometimes, I quite often get 5 hours or less. But the good news is you can make it up. You can erase that impact if you catch up on your sleep on the weekend. 1 or 2 nights of 8 hours of sleep a week erases that impact, and I'm good for that every week easily. And obviously, I'm off on vacation now, catching up on my sleep, so I think I'm going to be okay. It's good news. Yeah,
that is good news. I think I'm still probably 18 years or so in the deficit, so I got to really catch up on some. Maybe this, like I said, we're pre-recording this, but we've got the long Memorial Day weekend to come, and you've got a vacation coming up, Rich. So maybe you and I can scratch a couple of years off this weekend.
Let's make it a goal.
All right, sounds good.
All right. Well, thank you very much, folks, for tuning in and joining us for another episode of the 5-Minute Roundup. We will be back live next week. If you would like to keep up with this program and upcoming episodes, please go to the ChannelPro Network channel on YouTube and subscribe. You'll get all the information. You want to read about stuff going on in your industry, news, trends, new market opportunities, etc., go to the ChannelProNetwork.com website. Early and often, we've got new content for you there every day. You want to learn more about SPC International and Erick Simpson, you want to go to consulting.spc-intl.com. That's consulting.spc-intl.com. Thank you again for watching. We'll see you again next week. Until then, enjoy the rest of your week. Erick and I are enjoying the rest of your week already.